If you came to this corner a few months ago, you would have seen hundreds of Occupy protesters. Today, you might be lucky if you saw one. Has the Occupy movement died, or are they simply just taking a break? The panel also discussed the upcoming summit, which will happen here at McCormick Place. The delegates will gather to discuss issues affecting NATO. The biggest this year is how to move forward with Afghanistan. While the increase in gas prices is concerning drivers, it is also becoming a hot topic for debate in the presidential election. Republicans are calling for an increase in domestic oil and gas production, and Newt Gingrich has even hinted that he can get gas down to $2 a gallon. But President Obama insists there is no silver bullet to the increasing costs. The story has sparked national attention. There have been marches and rallies across the country. Even in Chicago, some 1,000 miles away from where the incident occurred, events much like the one at this church tonight have brought people out crying for justice for Trayvon, including some students at DePaul. Over 60 heads of state made their way to Chicago for the 25th annual NATO summit. They arrived on planes, drove through the city in high-security motorcades, and even ran along Lake Michigan. Their presence sparked protests all over the city and made the always busy loop look like a ghost town. Where the usual business people and workers walked, now only stood police. But despite all of that, there was business to be done. NATO, which stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is made up of 28 member countries from Europe and North America and works to safeguard the freedom and security of its member countries through political and military means. The organization's three main tasks include collective defense, crisis management, and cooperative security through partnerships. At this summit, which was the organization's largest ever, the focus was on the future of Afghanistan and a long-term missile defense program for NATO, as well as building partnerships. The summit was held on Sunday and Monday at McCormick Place and began with a short statement from NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen.
And leaders from around the world are coming here today.
An official greeting from him and President Obama came a few hours later. The first official meeting of the summit began with a ceremony honoring NATO military personnel and ended with a NATO missile defense system. While the first day emphasized greetings, working dinners, and issues within the alliance, the second was all about one of the biggest concerns discussed at this summit, NATO's relationship with Afghanistan. Before the summit began, NATO knew its security force would pull out of Afghanistan by 2014, but they did not have an exact timetable. By end of meetings Monday, NATO's future in Afghanistan was much more clear. By the middle of 2013, Afghan forces will take the lead for combat operations. At that time, the International Security Assistance Force, or ISAF, which is NATO's security force, will have shifted from combat to support role in all parts of the country. By 2014, Afghans will take full responsibility for their country's security, and NATO troops will head home. Speaking to the media Monday, President Obama touched on NATO's relationship with Afghanistan after 2014.
NATO will continue to train, advise, and assist and support Afghan forces as they grow stronger.
While the end of 2014 is soon enough for most NATO countries to leave Afghanistan, it wasn't soon enough for one of them. France's newly elected President François Hollande stuck to his campaign pledge and will withdraw French troops by the end of this year. One of the most talked about issues of the summit wasn't even on the agenda. Many wanted to know where the relationship between the United States and Pakistan stood. President Obama refused to meet with Pakistan President Zardari during the summit. The reason? Pakistan has closed NATO supply routes to Afghanistan in protest over drone attacks and a U.S. airstrike in November that killed 24 Pakistani troops. Zardari has demanded an apology from the U.S. and even asked Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to stop all drone strikes.
Ultimately, it is in our interest to see a successful, stable Pakistan, and it is in Pakistan's interest to work with us.
President Obama made a point to thank both Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Chicago's residents, saying he could not be more proud to welcome people from around the world to his hometown. Reporting for Good Day DePaul, I'm Brittany Lewis. When Chicago police arrested Daquan Sawyer last winter, they found themselves with a somewhat new problem on their hands: human trafficking. Sawyer was sentenced to 50 years in federal prison for using violence and threats to force underage women to work as prostitutes. His sentence was the largest handed down to a convicted sex trafficker in Chicago's federal court and came with the help of a new task force created by the FBI and Chicago Police Department to help fight human trafficking in the Chicagoland area. Supervisory Special Agent Gregory Wing is part of that task force.
We've seen an emerging trend that the crimes against children is increasing, especially involving the prostitution of children.
The Chicago Police Department and the FBI are not only working together to fight human trafficking, they're also pooling their resources to teach officers what to look out for.
What we're looking for is in the same area, walking back and forth, not having a purpose, possibly waiting for somebody, but nobody ever comes.
Sela Asahi works with victims of human trafficking in the city and helps to train law enforcement how to work with those victims.
Is the person afraid to talk to you? Is the person living and working at the same location? Is someone else controlling their money?
While victims can range in age and the way they are trafficked, the most common victims are the ones who appear the most vulnerable.
So they're looking for that little bit of love, that little bit of attention, because they're not getting it anywhere else.
All organizations feel they will have a much better chance of prosecuting offenders by combining their resources. Reporting for Good Day DePaul, I'm Brittany Lewis. DePaul hosts its first student-run dance marathon.
And a new change may be coming to the Lincoln Park campus. I'm John Dicko.
And I'm Brittany Lewis, and this is Good Day DePaul. As part of next month's NATO summit in Chicago, between 500 and 600 Illinois National Guard troops will be on duty. They'll move foreign officials around the city and provide support in case any problems arise. Protesters will definitely be here. The question is, will they remain peaceful?